September 13th, I will call the meeting of the Albany School Board to order. Present is Curtis.
Dan Bikino.
Myself, Tim Sorgi.
Kevin Merchant, Superintendent. Tim Eldridge.
Okay. And Merrill. Need a motion to approve the minutes of 6/14/22.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
You get a second?
I don't think I was here.
Well,
But I can second.
technically, you can even still vote on it, but it's okay. I will second that motion. Any discussion, changes, amendments to the minutes of 6/14? Hearing none, I will ask for a vote to approve those minutes.
Yes.
I'll just abstain.
Okay. Item number 3, public comment. No public comment. Board comment? None. Item 4, signing of checks and manifest. That's all set, right?
Yep.
We're good to go with that. Item 5, business affairs, attendance at meetings. I have this as my 5th meeting total.
I have you at 3 for the last one.
And then I did
June.
Yep.
And then,
I did an SAU 9 meeting
Yeah.
on last week.
Yeah.
And then this one.
okay.
This would be my 5th meeting, yeah.
I went to one executive board meeting.
Yeah.
I went to the last SAU meeting.
Okay.
I don't know if, did we count last school board meeting? Or did we already count that?
That was counted.
Yeah,
in.
Okay, so that's
and then
one,
you
2.
did the, the not the cooperative, but the joint.
If that
meeting,
counts,
yeah.
I don't even know. It wasn't even,
I think it
yeah.
was third.
Yeah, so that'd be 3, I guess, for me.
And then, yeah, you've been to, so Dan, that was an additional 2, 3.
3.
Okay. Now we'll give you 6. And then Curtis, you've been to,
I missed the last Albany meeting and the last SAU 9.
right?
So but I was at this.
Oh, you were at the SAU 9. Oh, the one before that one. You were there last week, though.
So an additional one, so there we go.
Okay.
Good.
Excellent. Okay. Item B under business affairs, consider request from Eldridge Transportation. Actually, Kevin, you had brought this up to our attention at the June meeting. We just received it. I don't know, Tim, if you want to just kind of paraphrase the letter rather than have me read it into the record and,
Sure.
if you want to talk a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. So as we all know, last year the price of fuel certainly started to go crazy, and I hadn't ever ran into that situation that the fuel had gone so high. So I've never built something like that into the contract. Whenever I do a contract, obviously the fuel does fluctuate, but never to the extreme that it had gone. So that sparked the letter to say, with the price so high, would there be consideration of just offsetting any additional cost over and above $5? Thankfully, those prices have come down. Some, as of today, I got a couple different prices, and they range from $517, $502, and $490. I thought that's the station to go to.
So can I ask you, I saw 2 of your buses at the mobile station on 16 across from Almost There.
Yep.
Is that where you typically buy gas, or how does
Not
that work?
always. We've got cards. We've got Irving cards, and then we've got the Wex card. So we do jump around to different stations depending on where they are. That one seems to kind of serve the purpose now only because of the change. Before we were going to the Irving, because we would end at the high school in the morning and then go to the Irving. But now we're ending at the middle school, so they go to the mobile.
Well, it seems like the gas there is more expensive.
It is, and that's kind of why the price jump around. In conversation last week, I actually had sent Jim an email and said, "Hey, with the prices down, I'm fine with leaving things as is, and I'm okay with taking whatever the little hit that." As the prices kind of jump around that $5 mark. And so he's like, sure. And then then Kevin actually sent out an email saying, hey, you're on the agenda, come along. So I'm here. But I'm fine at this point with kind of leaving things status quo. I mean, I have no idea really if the price is going to jump back up where it was, or if we're going to continue the downward slope, which that's what I hope, it continues down. But I'm okay with things staying the way the current contract is, with no additional charge on you guys. So.
Okay, I mean, and I appreciate that. However, we did discuss this briefly at the June meeting, and Dan and I at least were sympathetic to the fact that, considering the old threshold, I believe, according to Jim's letter with MacIver, was $2.50. So I think $5, you're being more than generous, having that as being the ceiling on that. We understand prices could go up again.
Yeah.
Jim right now is looking like an absolute genius because he locked in at fuel prices that are just making him look very prudent and very good at what he does, and he is. So, Kevin, is there any way that he can utilize where Conway purchases fuel or be part of that bidding when it goes in? Or is that totally separate?
It's separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The buses, they all fuel up at the town of Conway garage over there.
Okay.
So then we reimburse them. So we
I
don't
see.
really have vehicle fuel other
Okay.
than a small tank at on site
Right.
for the
The small
local
vehicles
buses.
and stuff. Okay. All right. Fair enough. I don't know. How do you guys feel? I'd like to just get some input from you guys as well about, did you see this letter, Curtis?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, how do you guys feel about it? You deal with vehicles and diesel costs all the time
I
too.
mean, what have we done in the past? I mean, the $5 seems like that's high. That's very generous on
Yeah,
your
this
side.
is the old contract
Yeah.
prior to the one that you signed with Eldridge.
You should understand. too.
I mean, a lot of time you see it like based around like New York Harbor, like New England, or something like that. But, I mean, obviously your car, I mean, you get what, 4 miles to the gallon, 5 miles to the gallon or something like that.
We get around 10
Oh,
miles.
wow.
Yeah.
A lot of hills down there.
Just
Yeah.
spending a lot of
That's
time
right.
God,
in
you're making us look bad.
Yeah.
I'm used to the 4 or 5 mile a gallon. So that's, yeah, but
And I just quickly, I'll pass these over, just quickly ran some numbers. The top box, once you get it, those just took the average of today's prices from a couple different gas stations at 15, 17, 502, 490. So on average, the overage would be 3 cents. So if you did that over the course of the 10 months, it's only $4 to $6 that I'd be looking for reimbursement.
Right. Now you're getting out of control.
Then if the next box down, if you went from high of 517 plus 17 cents over, you can do the math, it's 264 over the course of 10 months. And then the bottom one is, we had a price of $6.55. That was one of the highest that we had paid this past spring. And obviously calculated out, it'd be 2,413 over. So you kind of see, obviously the mileage fluctuates a little. depending on the month, but kind of gives you a snapshot of what that would look like. But again, I'm perfectly fine to continue going forward as things stand now, because prices are kind of on the downward slide. Again, whether they stay that direction, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, what would, I'm sorry, what would, let's just say the price spiked up. Who knows? You know, I mean, anything could happen. You know, I think like we discussed before, we want to be as accommodating as possible, so it's not a burden, you know. Should we just take it as it comes and see what happens, or is that kind of the direction we want to go?
Personally, I'd like to vote on his request through the letter and have something in place
Okay.
in the event that there is a spike in the cost. I think that would protect you rather than us have to revisit this.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather have that
Yeah.
there.
Sure.
If, you know, you're at the, 3 cents over the gallon and it's your decision to eat that rather than come to us,
Right.
I'm not going to tell you not to do that.
Okay.
That begs the next question, which is ESSR funds. We discussed the possibility of using that.
We
We can't use
yeah,
it.
we've checked on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll talk what you can use it for.
Okay. Ian, how do you, the treasurer for the school board, I mean, how do you feel about these, maximum overage potentially of $2,400? Is that a cost we could absorb by the end of the year? Okay. I mean, if you're okay with that, I would like to present this as a motion to the board and vote on it and
Sure.
just have that
Yeah.
policy in place to protect you in the
Sure.
event that something
I
creeps
appreciate
up. No, and we appreciate the work that you've been doing with us. We get nothing but good reviews from the driver, from the service and everything. It's,
Yeah.
I think it was a good thing, getting you to take over the transportation. All right, if there's no more discussion on the request from Eldridge Transportation, I would like to make a motion to adopt the numbers in the letter that Mr. Eldridge had given to the board, dated June 10th, actually submitted to Jim Hill and was forwarded to the board, of covering any fuel cost over $5 per gallon of diesel fuel for this school year 22-23.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion on the matter?
I think it's more than fair for on his part to us. So
Okay.
I'll second the motion, I guess.
Yep,
Or,
well, Curtis did that.
oh, Curtis
Yep.
already did that. Sorry.
So we'll put it to a vote?
Yes.
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 Okay, it's
Well,
unanimous. Yes,
Appreciate
thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. That's
You can stay, you can go, it's up to you.
You can probably go.
Take the money and run.
You always up early. Stay late. So.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next order of business, an FYI summary of expenses and receipts for 21-22. Is that you or is that Kevin? Or Bridget?
So you have, in your packet, it should have been extra copies, but really, if you take a look, this is closing the books, right? You paid all your bills at this point, and you can see your expenses, and, your regular tuition is there. Your special education, costs, actually, there was about $82,000 in savings for those. You budget, 18 months in advance, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. This
Right.
is actually a good thing. And then you'll see, again, some more special education costs that were $1,000 for speech, $3,000 for occupational therapy, and then the school board expenses, legal, professional, Medicaid billing. That was a little bit less. And then you'll see transportation, and that's all transportation, whether it's special education and or the other is $12,000. So down as far as your expenditures go, you had a savings of about $102,000 that you did not spend. Okay, and then you go further down your revenue side of things. So we take a look and make good estimates as far as what those are. And you'll see everything's pretty close with the exception of you receive some revenue from the state aid in the amount of $39.90 for the charter school. So overall, your revenue was higher, $3,500, and you can see the amount that was unexpended at the total altogether, $106,376.84. So that's what you had at this point.
Very good. Okay.
That leads to the update of the fund balance itself. So that is how much will be used to reduce your taxes moving forward.
Excellent.
It's gonna go into the fire department budget because it's going crazy.
I mean, yeah.
Okay, under 5E, the signing of the MS-25, DOE 25 financial reports. Those are the ones that Bridget had forwarded
These are the
out, right?
ones, these are just two different forms that go to the Department of Revenue Administration.
Yep.
And those forms are here. School board chair signs at the top, the other board members down below. There's one document, and here's the other one.
Okay. So this doesn't matter the order, right?
You chair signs
Oh,
up
up to you.
top.
I see. Okay.
On the other one too.
Yeah, I got that one. Okay. And then yours is on there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Excellent. Okay, item 6, the superintendent's report, update on ESSR funds.
I have, so you folks, good news, bad news, you do have some money in ESSER 3 and ESSER 2. You have 4,900 in ESSER 3, and then you have 2,100 in ESSER 2. So you do have some money, and there are certain parameters. Everything has to be related to COVID costs. So you can use that monies for learning loss, so tutoring, all those things. Part of the issue is that because you have these tuition agreements with Conway, you're using a lot of Conway monies to service all the Albany students. So, for example, school to career camps, they were paid for through Conway for all the students. Tutoring is, if you're a student at Conway Elementary, Kent Middle School, or high school, that's paid with Conway funds. So there's really, it's difficult to spend that amount of money. The one thing that we can use it for and have used it for is like specialized transportation for students to access programs. So we ran a bus last year. There's a flight aviation program, and they run on Saturdays, and they ran it during April vacation. So we use some of the monies to run transportation and pick up kids on Saturday, Albany kids. The kids in need of transportation, we had from Bartlett, Albany. So that's the type of stuff that we can use it for. We can continue to use it for other programs, other camps that might benefit students, programs, again, additional school to career camps that these students might want to participate in. But really, there's not a whole lot of, more cleaning supplies, I guess, if Tim needs more cleaning supplies or things like that. But we'll try and spend it down in things that are good, but if that's okay with you folks, I didn't know if you had.
Well, if there's going to be significant expenditure, we'd like to probably know what it is. An email, and the three of us. I see on here it says Conway Public Library. Why is that an expenditure for ESSER funds.
Oh, I think we put that in the minutes. Is that where it came from?
Well, this was just an update that you gave at the last meeting.
Yeah, it
about
was,
stuff.
those were just thoughts and ideas. I don't know all the ins and outs of Albany and how those arrangements
Oh,
were
okay.
made. So I'm thinking about benefits for students in Albany, right?
I see, okay.
I didn't know if there were any barriers for students that had to pay fees to go to either the Conway Public Library or,
Right.
you know, if there were any museum fees that you know, students could participate in, or, yeah, I know you guys have an agreement with the rec center, but that was just my brainstorming. Dan, you would know more as a parent, or Curtis, of students that,
I'm just trying to think if there was something that would benefit Albany students, like if in fact the student fell behind over the last couple of years because of COVID and needed some extra services to catch up. Is that sounds like it would
Conway
be something,
pick
but Conway would pick it
most
up.
of that, yeah.
Yeah.
But when you say you would pick that up, would that be just as part of what we pay you regularly?
Yeah, you pay Conway, yeah.
Okay, and we couldn't offset that for our own budgetary purposes with ESSER funds? Okay.
Right, no, you can't supplant that kind of things.
Okay.
And there's,
if
I know that I didn't. You said that the fuel costs could not be used for that. But what about? Is there still some kind of cleaning procedure that he's using?
There is. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
think it's $6,000.
Probably, yeah, probably not.
Well, we'll rescind that letter if
But,
it is.
yeah, I can check with him to
Yeah.
see. And a lot of times, I know Gretel brings up cleaning supplies and just hands them out to everybody.
Right. Maybe one thing we could do is put a notice in the newspaper to Albany residents and just say, you know, the Albany School Board, the town of Albany has ESSER 2 and 3 funds. These are the types of things that it can be used for if you have a need for, you know, something that Conway School Board does not, Conway School System does not provide. You can submit a letter or a phone call.
Will these funds expire?
to us.
They will.
They will. So
Yeah,
they'd have to be used.
923 for
Yeah.
the 21, 2200, 924 for the 4900.
I mean, we can reach
Yeah,
out
in 2 years.
electronically and send out
Right.
emails to parents.
Can you do that for just Albany?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
You know, I know that that there has been some, and I don't know what Canada is offering there, but I know that there are some schools that are offering that are almost, they have to, some kind of remedial type instruction immediately when incoming freshmen are coming in, not just University of New Hampshire, but other, and they've had to do that because the kids are behind. You know, they've had, so I don't know if there was something, you know, that would offering some kind of tuition reimbursement or something like that. I don't know, you know, for specifically to catch up. Say someone is behind in calc, you know, and they need some real, you know, they want to start off at the right class.
I think they'd have to be students, current students.
Oh, not graduated.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's
Okay.
why don't we just stick it?
Yeah.
We'll stick to the email
Yeah.
and we'll see
Yeah.
what kind of interest that draws, if any. I mean, I hate to eat these funds, but
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So just have a few other things if I might.
Sure.
So the Kent High School window project, if you get a chance, they just about wrapped up everything there. Again, we're fortunate to be able to use the ESSER funds on that. They pulled out the trucks and just about wrapping things up there.
Nice.
All the schools now, Alice training. So if you're not run by the Conway Police Department and two of the detectives at all the schools with the staff talking about active threats to the building. And it really is, you know, the old mode of duck and cover and hide. This is much more proactive and empowering to people to make decisions. I don't want to get into too much because it's a security piece, but the good news is that the general feedback, you know, Chief Matty has done a tremendous job and they're good partners with the school. But they did hit all the schools, 3 hours at each one of the schools.
Was that part of the recent security funds that they released?
So, yeah, along those lines, secondary to that, in the spring, in about March last year, had the opportunity to write to Department of Homeland Security to do assessments on all the buildings. We usually go through it every 4 or 5 years. So we have those come up, and they give you a written report, and if you folks want to see what those are, we can go into an executive session at some point, just to take a look and tell you the feedback, because we don't want to do that in public and say, these are the weak spots here and there.
Right.
But the good news is that helped us because, there's safety grants that were out there.
Just recently, it was.
And there are 2 waves that were done. And I was able to write one for Kent High School for $100,000 to increase the surveillance. And we just were notified Friday that we got that one. And then wrote the secondary ones for Kent Middle School, Conway Alley, Pine Tree, and John Fuller. So I don't know yet what those would do, but there are 3 different areas that you can address, and accessibility, surveillance, and then I think it's operational pieces. You can't use it for personnel, but really it's upgrades to the system. So good news is we received $100,000 for Kent High School to really bring that up. But it's all tied together. Unfortunately, in the world we live in, we have to pay a little bit more attention to these things, and at least we're trying to do what we can. But other than that, good opening to the school. I think generally pretty good stuff going on. If you haven't been up to the high school to watch a football game Friday nights, great time. Get out to see the sports. Homecoming at the high school. I'm sure your kids dressed up in funny clothes going up there. But it's good to open the schools back up. Homecoming dance, and that's
my
a big,
daughter wore
big
my
process.
clothes and she thought they were funny.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. But
A lot of people that thought she was you, though.
it was grilling there.
Yeah.
I know.
Barbecue, yeah,
I
barbecue.
know.
Barbecue dance.
It is nice to have stuff. For instance, my daughter's going to the. They're having the UMass music,
The band.
band trip, which she missed out on the last 2 years.
that's
So, and that's a big deal. I mean, and it's just, I think that I haven't seen. She's a senior. She's seen a lot, but boy, she actually seems excited. To be back in the swing of things, and that's really good to see. So that's a positive thing.
That's awesome.
Had great school to prayer camps this summer. Well turned out. They had a great session over at it's not the Freiburg Airport, or the Eastern Slope Airport over there. Big open house, and actually I think 3 students lined up to get their pilot's license. And
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So anyway, good stuff.
I hope they focus a little bit on the. We talked about this. The cellular. stuff.
Yes. That has been a conversation. Yeah.
That's good. 3 pilots.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of.
No more delays at the airports.
Right.
Okay, item 7, any other business? The next date for the Albany School Board meeting will be November 8th at 5:30 p.m. here at Town Hall.
The last meeting, the last kind of pseudo meeting that we had of the options committee.
Well, that's the next item.
Oh, that is the. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You're not on
see,
that
first
yet.
of all, you're just cheating. You're looking at my iPad.
Mine's TSU.
So
It's
are
bigger.
we going November 8th?
November 8th. Sure.
I know it's forever away, right?
Yeah. Right.
Item 7B is consider establishing a
Yeah.
KHS tuition study committee. So go ahead, Dan. You were at the last meeting
Yeah.
for the
Well, I know that.
joint maintenance.
One of the points that was brought up, and I didn't really even realize it until everybody got there. It was kind of it was more of a check-in with the older people that went to that were tasked with going to the meeting, either from their school boards or on the town warrant that we passed. But this latest one was really, there was no substantiation as far as authority of doing anything. So I think the next step was to see if each school board would want to elect or appoint someone to represent Albany as far as pursuing different options. I know one point that when I went to that meeting, the one point, and I know in the beginning, everyone was very congratulatory of themselves, saying, this was such a good meeting. I'm so glad we did this. But I think we kind of missed an opportunity because the focus was so narrow, focusing on the co-op. I think if we had had a different type of mandate to explore other options and not just, because I think ultimately it was, well, this meeting is about the co-op or not. And we voted that up or down. And we didn't really have the opportunity to really explore the JMAs and all that other stuff, which I think that was a missed opportunity. It was, I agree, it was very healthy. It was good back and forth take, but I think it would have given us, I think that it would have been more productive if we had a little bit wider of a mandate to discuss other things during that time. But, I'm sorry, okay.
Just information. So the Cooperative Study Committee is guided by the RSA. So that's state law. So that's why it had to go through this very formal process for that. So I think that was the question at hand that had to be answered according to the RSA. So there was the formation of, very specifically, the Cooperative Study Committee. That's right in the law. So even though they were broached on the other topics, the purpose of that committee was to answer the question.
Right, but if the purpose of the committee had been expanded slightly to perhaps pursue some other avenues. I mean, the co-op wasn't even, it was just, do we want a co-op or not?
Well, and I think that the way that happened was all the school boards voted individually to appoint people to attend the cooperative meeting. We
Right.
didn't find out about the other options until Matt Upton came and handed the handout out, and he said, "Oh,
It
there's
was,
a
but I
joint
think
maintenance
it
agreement."
pretty quickly was decided that the co-op was probably not going to be a very good alternative.
Right.
So once that was established, then we kind of made into a tangent into these different options.
Correct. Yeah.
And I think that I think that diluted the relevancy of those different options. I think it could have had a little more teeth, in that thing. But hindsight's 2020. So
Right.
I guess now, Kevin, I'm
Oh, go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, has Conway, was that subject broached at the Conway School Board?
Last night.
It was.
They had a meeting last night.
They did.
And they formed actually a committee to come back to the table to look at the JMA more formally and then the tuition contract. So they're going through, Mr. Hounsel is very process oriented, which is good. You
Right.
need people to do that. He wants to knock off, he suggested to Conway to knock off one question at a time as you're going through. And then ultimately, if a JMA is not something that it has legs, then you're really down to either an area agreement, which probably is outdated and you don't.
Which is what we have now, right?
No,
No,
we have
what-
school contracts. We have tuition contracts.
We have tuition. We don't have any area grant?
You did 25
That's
years, 20
was
some odd years. ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
So you hit it on the head. Without the authority of the school board to represent, and just a bunch of people in a room that are having a conversation,
Mhm.
which.
You got to start somewhere and talking in the community, but if there's no specific mandate to represent anyone, then it's
Yeah,
kind of
well,
useless.
For timing purposes, elementary and middle school would have to be presented to the respective town meeting this coming spring, whereas the high school, you have an extra year because of
Right.
that it was built in the contract is dated a year
I
beyond.
think it's the elementary is the first one, 2023, and then the high school and the middle school.
Oh, they're together?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So just to let you know, we have, as you know, we have a school options committee that is, we're getting very close to drawing up a memorandum of understanding with a couple of different options that we'll look at, and then recommendation will be made to this board about what they think should be presented to the
On the
voters.
options committee?
Yeah, I mean, it's been,
You guys been at it for a while.
Well,
we've been at it
that's
for a
it.
while, and there's really nothing been going on since
Yeah.
probably May. I mean,
Right.
we were down in Madison. That was the last school visit that we
Right.
took. So it's kind of been a process of elimination, and now just coming down to this.
Right.
We had a couple of meetings with Conway about the tuition contract, and those have kind of petered out. So I'm glad to hear that they discussed something last night, and I'll talk to Michelle and see if we can get those restarted, so we can have something. But I'm confident we'll have something by the spring, to bring forward to town meeting.
Yeah.
So the question is, does the school board want to continue those conversations in a formal capacity with the other towns? Because all the towns are doing
I mean, right? Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
that, it's on all the SU 9 school boards' agendas. And
I would,
Jackson.
yeah, I would say that we should. I don't think we want to be excluded from it. I mean, if it couldn't hurt if someone is willing to, wants to take an interest in,
Yeah.
and be part of the loop, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good that we should be there. In some of the work that we've done, it's become pretty obvious that what Albany's needs are going to be quite different than some of the other sending towns. And I'm loath to get into a room with people with such different ideas about how a contract should be crafted, just try to out-talk each other. I don't mind going and listening. I don't know how much information, I'm gonna sit there and throw out and I try to beat people over the head with and say, this is the way it should be.
No,
Ultimately,
yeah.
we have to deal with, Albany has to deal with Conway.
It does, but I think that, at least as far as some of the sentiment that have heard over the last couple of years, actually, there's still the issue of governance, and
Right.
That's a significant issue. I mean, it's difficult when you have the when you have the power, so to speak, of governance, and it's difficult to give it up, if you have it. And I understand that. However, I think that it needs to be heard that, and Albany's not alone in this. There's other sending towns that also feel the same way very strongly, that we would like a more substantial voice other than just being at the mercy of Conway. I think and that's a reasonable request. Whether Conway understands that or not, or whether they're willing to compromise on something like that, I don't know. But I think we should be at the table, at least voicing and listening to what some of the other towns are saying.
20 years ago, they weren't very interested in having that discussion. But
No,
I think Albany's relationship with Conway is much different than, say, a town, say Jackson or Bartlett or whatnot. We don't have any schools. We're in the same zip code. We're in the same, we basically skirt them. I mean, I agree with Tim. We can hear what they have to say, but I'm new to this, but it seems like there's a lot of different ideas. And it might not be really what Albany wants.
I think, and I ultimately that's probably what's going to happen. But we're going to be locking into something for quite a long time in the near future. So we should probably try to listen to as much as we can before we make that one of those long-term decisions, because we're going to have to be living with that for probably quite a long time, another 20 years or whatever.
Maybe not.
Yeah,
I mean, if you go year to year,
Right.
it could be 5. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think Jackson has an agreement with
Bartlett.
for 3 years.
Right.
And Hales and Hearts in 3 years.
Like Chatham with
The
MSA
key is
72.
the bottom line for Albany is you have to have an agreement with a school district, wherever it is.
Right.
For K through 12. You have to have a record, school of record. So it doesn't matter where or how long, but you have to have that.
So I would say that we would be interested in attending the study committee.
We'll keep you on the email list.
Yep, that would be
if you want,
good.
But not a formalized school.
I'd say
board.
not tonight. We wouldn't be prepared to
Yeah.
put that forward. We can go and see how it is, and then we can decide to do something then.
I think we should make that decision on the 8th of November, and we should have it.
Well, will they meet before then, do you think?
There's a joint SAU 9-13 meeting next Thursday, and we'll have all the players there represented. So, to be honest with you, I know we're on TV, but I think answering the JMA question is not going to take too long. I don't think so.
Agreed.
And then the next question is, how do all the towns want to move forward? Actually, County County drives the bus. How do they want to move forward, right? And entertain continuing those or not? You guys have to make those decisions. Everybody has to make those decisions.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces because the other towns have schools, we don't. So it's really,
Yeah.
it's really a big part of it is the high school. As far as including the other towns.
And that can work in our favor, and it can also work against us depending on how you see it. So, I mean, the number of kids we have in the Conway school system is significant. And if we were to find another option, that's a major hit to the Conway school system financially. But at the same time, what cost does that come to for Albany students? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a delicate balance. So yeah, we'll
It
We'll
is.
attend the
But I
meeting
agree
and
with
we'll go
Curtis
from there.
that, Albany and Conway have had a special relationship for many, many years in many different ways, not just the school. And so, that is a unique situation from the other area towns.
And just we need to hear what other people are saying.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's Albany and Conway.
Yeah, you might not feel that way after the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, item 8, any public comment? Hearing none, no non-public session scheduled for tonight. And item 10, we had a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
1 second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So, thank you, Ian.
Yeah, a lot of towns feel a lot differently depending upon where you're at. About tuition and how they want to move forward.